Alright, so we are back for another video, and today we have the KZ EDA, one of the more requested IEMs in the comments. And yeah, $40 gets you maybe 3 IEMs in one box, and that's the first time that I've seen something like that. From what I have seen from your comments, you seem to say that maybe there's 3 tunings of this. So 3 IEMs in one go. So let's see if that is the case. We're gonna try to unbox it together. So looking at the box itself, actually maybe bigger box compared to your usual KZ. You're getting the KZ EDA as well. And yeah, for KZ, of course, in the budget space, it's been a while since I checked out something, sub $20 there. The latest one is the CCA CRA, and that is not a KZ per se, so it's a CCA still. So even if they're kind of related, I haven't seen a KZ for a while yet. So I would love to see if they updated their tuning, if they learn from the maybe collaboration IEMs that they had before. And actually, I did unbox the AS16 Pro a couple of days ago, and I actually I'm surprised at the tuning there. So yeah, this is the unboxing experience, guys. So let's open it up. Actually, it's a bit heavier compared to your usual, and look at that. You are getting, yes, 3 IEMs in one go for the $40 price range. So if you divide the $40 by 3, you can get maybe around $12 per IEM. But that's really cool. 3 IEMs in one go. You can just buy this and maybe get the one that you prefer if they have indeed different tunings, and try to share it with your friends as well. But yeah, let's see what you are getting in the box. Of course, opening this up. That's the first time that I've seen something like that for any IEM. That's really crazy. You're actually getting just one cable. So if you do like to maybe share this with your friend needs more cables there. Of course, you are getting additional ear tips. This seems to be the usual silicone tips. This is not the Starline tips that you usually see in other cases. Actually, the AS16 Pro, I have seen the Starline tips again, but here it's a bit different. And here you seem to be getting maybe 3 versions of this. It says heavy bass version, balanced version as well, and high resolution version. Yeah, interesting because sometimes what they do with other IEMs is you do have a switch and it changes up the sound, but here because it's a different driver for each IEM, so maybe they can fine-tune the sound a bit more, so the sound can be more different in a way, let's say. So first up, this is the heavy bass version, gold trims. Kind of looks nice here. In terms of the overall fit, actually this is a very safe shape. So this is a very typical KZ shape here. You have a small fin there, but not that big. But yeah, this reminds me a lot of maybe the KZ ZSN Pro kind of shape, but with maybe a smaller fin, additional smaller fin. So yeah, I think medium size in terms of the lobe size here. So I do think this is a safe shape. Anybody can just pick this up and be okay with the shape. And looking at the insertion as well, this is usual KZ, so the insertion is quite deep. So this might be good for some monitoring type of situation. So the isolation might be good. So let's just quickly unbox the other ones. So this is the balanced shape, and this maybe reminds me of the EDX as well. But of course, you're getting that maybe silver trims at the side. But the shape same as what you are getting with the heavy bass version. So actually, from what I am seeing right now from the inside the IEM itself, they do have all dynamic drivers here. So the high resolution version is again might be just a moniker that they use, but this might be the more trebly version. So this is what it's gonna look like. You're getting that green trims and of course that silver trims as well at the side. All right, so this is what it looks like. So ear fit, very similar to other KZs. Actually, the fit is quite snug here. So it's a very monitor type of shape. So it does go inside the ear. The insertion is quite felt. So the isolation for me is really good. The shape as well. So the size is not that big. So I think this can fit a lot of ears here. And stability is really good as well because of that deeper insertion. So stability is really good overall. So it's just a comfort that I have an issue with because it does go inside the ear, and some people doesn't like that insertion. It's actually for live monitoring situations for me. This will be nice because it does fit really well to the ear. One downside for me though is after wearing this, I think it feels a bit too cheap for my liking, especially for the price. Of course, you're getting, 3 IEMs here, but still for $40, you can get one really good, nicely maybe built IEM. So that's definitely one downside you need to live with having this build quality. I'm gonna do some measurements and show you guys how the difference is between these IEMs. All right, so actually we did some measurements here, and yeah, it's a very KZ type of sound. You do have that double horns on top here, with the 12K being a bit more elevated compared to the 5K, but definitely double horns at the top. So actually the treble for me very close between the 3 IEMs, but the bigger difference is the bass region. So if you guys can see, the heavy bass region has maybe around 5 to 7 dB more elevated bass region. So you can definitely see that the bass here should be a lot more prominent in the mix. Between the high res and the balanced version, very similar between both, but the balanced version has slightly less treble there on top. So yeah, but yeah, very similar here. You do have a very slight difference between both. So I'm expecting that the high res and the balanced version will have a lot of similarities, and the heavy bass version will be the most different of them all. But let's try to listen to some tunes. Of course, we're gonna start first with the heavy bass version. And then we are going to go to the high res, and the last will be the balanced version. So let us try out some bassy track. Let's try some 24K Magic by Bruno Mars. So definitely big bass in the bottom here. Has a bit of boom as well. Very KZ type of sound, so very lively to listen to. So in the bass region, reminds me of a blonde type of bass to the mix. Has some boom, impactful as well. So maybe a bit more impactful compared to some blondes. A bit more lively compared to some blondes. So more of a monitor type of presentation, more aggressive, lively to listen to. But in the top end, maybe reminds me, or the mids as well, reminds me of a TFZ kind of sound. So this is the overall sound. This reminds me of a mix of TFZ and blonde combined. But maybe the closest IEM that I can think of in terms of the overall sound is the TFZ Live 3. So it's quite surprising that you're just getting it for sub $40, and this is just one IEM out of the $40 price point. You have 3 IEMs there. Big bass at the bottom. And actually, even if you can see maybe a 1 to 2K dip at the mids, the vocal positioning is still quite nice for me in the mix. It's definitely in the brighter side of presentation for me, maybe because of that 5K elevation. So the vocal is still quite clear for me. In the overall presentation, it's more of a brighter vocal presentation there. So even if you do have that maybe recession at around the mids region, the vocal presentation is actually pretty good. Still recessed in the mix for sure, but it's not that much recessed for me in the mix. Actually on top, so even if you do have that maybe double horns on top here, because of that dynamic driver presentation, they were still able to deliver pretty okay cymbals here. Still not the best bodied cymbals, but pretty okay. You still have that thinness in the cymbals here, but it's not that bad of an overall listen here. But definitely the star of the show is the bass region. Boomy, impactful as well. Yeah, on top, you're getting a slight hint of hotness there, but compared to some other cases before, this is already a bit better. So yeah, for the heavy bass version, so for bass heads, we will definitely enjoy this. I do think it's nice sounding, especially for the price that you're paying for. So yeah, still this is not your reference pair. This is something that you want to use for some fun, and maybe even if you're gonna use this for maybe some drum monitoring, if you like to listen to that low end a bit more, this might be something that you can consider. I kind of like it. Especially if you're into bass. Alright, next let's try to listen to the high-res version. So actually for the heavy bass version, so in terms of the micro detail, not that much, so much like maybe your blonde type of IEMs. So it's not something that you want to use for any critical listening or any referencing as well. Next, let us try to listen to the high-res version. So this is the high-resolution version. So let's try to listen to maybe some guitar tracks, actually, maybe some Jumping In by Joe Satriani. Yeah, this is definitely a lot brighter compared to the heavy bass version. And actually now compared to the heavy bass version, this is a bit more maybe colder in the tonality here, thinner in the note weight as well. So very surprising that there's a slight change in the the presentation. This is a bit colder in the presentation. Still in the lively side of things, but definitely colder compared to what you are getting compared to the heavy bass version. So for me, the heavy bass version is more smooth. Actually a lot more smooth in the presentation. This is cleaner in the presentation here, and again colder in the tonality. And actually here, surprisingly for the bass, it still has that impact. This is not boring type of bass for me. Still, this still has that KZ type of vibe to the sound. Still has that impactfulness to the overall sound. But definitely compared to the heavy bass version, this is actually nicely controlled for me in the mix. So the heavy bass version has that, maybe mid-bass bleed, but here, there's no mid-bass bleed for me here, which is definitely quite surprising. So this signature is more from bright signature now. So bright V type of signature. So let us try some Maybe That's What I Like by Bruno Mars. In terms of the vocal positioning for me, this is a bit more maybe recessed compared to what you are getting compared to the heavy bass version. So this is a bit more maybe back in the mix. But again, not that far off for me, very close in the presentation. And again, this is more in the cleaner side of presentation for me. So the vocals is cleaner, a bit thinner in the note weight, but still a very, KZ type of sound here. Definitely really lively to listen to. So maybe this reminds me of maybe the CCA-CRA in a way, or maybe your older KZs. So this is very similar to some older KZs in the overall sound to the ear. But yeah, definitely the top end is the star of the show here. So very much extended on top, a lot of brightness on top here, a lot of extension on top. But actually here, compared to the heavy bass version, so the thinness of the cymbals in the top end here is more pronounced for me in the mix. But I would have to say maybe the stage is a bit bigger from here compared to what you are getting with the heavy bass version. And yeah, because of the cleaner type of sound, so the separation is definitely better for me here compared to what you are getting with the heavy bass version. So going to the bass region, so yeah, still very much lively to listen to, but now a bit more controlled compared to the heavy bass version. So actually for me, almost no mid-bass bleed here, so very, very close. Going to the mids, cleaner in the presentation, clean vocal presentation for me, but still a bright vocal presentation. And maybe a better separation as well in the mids. And in the top end as well, a bit more extended there. It has a bit more maybe sizzle on top. Has a bit more shimmer for me on top. But yeah, the splashiness definitely is a bit more pronounced there. So going to the high-res version, this is more of a monitoring pair now for me. A bit colder in tonality for me overall, but the treble is definitely more pronounced in the mix. More controlled bass. The presentation as well as cleaner, a bit more clean because of that maybe lower bass amplification. So yeah, monitor type of sound here. So it reminds me of a BA type of or hybrid BA type of a KZ presentation. So this is similar to a lot of older KZs actually. So yeah, it reminds me a lot of the ZSN Pro X's, something like that in terms of the overall tuning, or maybe even the DQ6s. So it reminds me a lot of that, but I wouldn't call this a high resolution version. So it's more of a clarity focused version. Because some of your other drivers will give you better micro detail compared to this one. So let us try to listen to the balance heard from you guys. This is the most popular out of all the bunch. So let us try some That's What I Like by Bruno Mars. Yeah, definitely out of all the bunch, first impressions, this might be my favorite. It still has some similarities to the tonality, the presentation of the high resolution version, but the high resolution is still maybe colder in the presentation compared to this. This is a bit closer to the heavy bass version in that regard. So this is right in the middle of the high res and also the heavy bass version. Yeah, it's definitely more balanced of a presentation here, which is definitely quite surprising. So again, you still have a touch of recession in the mids region, but not that much. Actually for me, it's less pronounced here compared to the two IEMs. So in terms of the presentation here, it's still quite lively of a presentation, but this is a bit smoother compared to what you are getting with the high-res version. So the bass very similar to the high-res, but maybe a touch more maybe impactful compared to what you're getting with the high-res version. And the vocals here for me is better presented compared to the high-res version for me. So I like that it's more smooth in the presentation. Still in the brighter side of things, it's a more of a clear vocal presentation for me. So actually for this, maybe the closest IEM that I can think of is maybe the VK4, but make it a bit more lively of a presentation. So that is the vibe that I'm getting here overall. Let us try some Let's Groove by Earth, Wind & Fire. So in terms of the vocal region actually, so it's in the brighter side of presentation. So compared to the other two, this might have a bit more hotness for me in the presentation. So this definitely a bit more maybe shouty compared to what you're getting with the other IEMs. So the heavy bass version is a bit more relaxed to the ear, and also maybe the high resolution version is colder in the tonality. So this is a bit more lively for me, and that might introduce a bit more hotness in the vocal region. So like here in Let's Groove by Earth, Wind & Fire, so the sizzle for me in the male vocals is a bit more pronounced than what I'd like. So in terms of the overall presentation, again, this is more of a monitor type of presentation for me, so much like the high resolution version. But this is a bit more fun presentation, a bit more fun monitor for me because of that, a bit more maybe impactful bass region. So here for Paramore Hard Times, the vocal positioning of female vocals is actually quite nicer compared to the male vocals here. So let us try some September by Earth, Wind & Fire. And yeah, compared to what you're getting with the high-res version, this is a bit smoother in the presentation, so a bit better in the note weight. And definitely, yes, the bass is definitely more controlled compared to what you're getting with the heavy bass version. But yeah, one issue here is the shoutiness of the vocals. So if you're gonna use this, you might want to go for a more neutral or warmer player, a more relaxed player. All right, so that's my lesson with the KZ EDA. So this is actually very interesting. I mean, first, you have 3 IEMs in the $40 price range, and you're getting quite different tuning here. So you're getting a heavy bass version, which is kind of a blonde type of sound. You are getting that high resolution version, which reminds me a lot of maybe a KZZSN Pro kind of vibe. And you're getting that balanced version, which reminds me of a VK4 type of vibe. So you're getting different IEMs here, and this will be nice for those starting out in the hobby. So this might be the perfect maybe starter KZ, because you can experience different tunings, and the tunings is a bit more pronounced for me. There's definitely good value for the money here, because you're getting 3 IEMs, so that in itself is really cool. Definitely my favorite out of all the bunch is the balanced versions, even if it does have some shoutiness in the mids. So it's a nice mix of having that bass and also having the treble as well. But definitely different usages here. So if you like bass in your day, you might consider the heavy bass version. And if you like a bit more maybe monitoring, a bit more critical listening, you might want to use the high-res version. And if you like maybe an all-rounder, you might want the balanced version. So sometimes you want to have a bassy IEM, you want to have a balanced IEM, you want to have brighter IEM in your kit. But this, just one purchase gets you all of these. You can keep all of these, and these will have different usages in your kit. So I would suggest keeping them all if you're gonna buy this. So what do I think of it in terms of the overall value proposition? I think it's a nice value proposition. $40 gets you a lot of these, and the tunings as well, very very much usable, especially in that price range. So I can see why people like this IEM. So yeah, all of them have their usages. So there's not one IEM here that it's really bad to listen to. All of them are definitely usable in their own regard. Of course, some cons here. So I do think the high-res and also the balanced version, it's quite close in the presentation. So maybe instead of maybe high-res or balance, maybe change one of those to maybe a neutral IEM. I think that will be a better choice. That will give a bit more contrast in the sound. So heavy bass, you're getting the treble focused IEM, and then lastly you're getting that maybe mids focused, a bit more neutral presentation. So I think that can be a better value proposition for other people. And also this is still a KZ type of sound, so that liveliness, some other people doesn't like it. And also you're getting that a lot of 12K in the mix, also some 5K as well. So there's some hotness here, especially in some tracks. So if you don't like KZs, if you listen to some KZs before, you might not like the presentation here as well. It's already better compared to some BA counterpart, but still having that 12K can be a turn off for some people. So keep that in mind when you're listening to this. So that's my look with the KZ EDA. Of course, thanks for watching. Let me know down in the comments below, what do you think of the KZ EDA? Have you listened to them? Have you heard them? What do you think of them? What is your favorite KZ? What is your favorite tuning out of all the bunch? Let me know down in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'm gonna see you guys in the next zpolt review. Bye-bye.